Hello, my name's Abraham Lincoln, and I want to tell you my life story. I was born in February in 1809. It was in a small, one-cabin house that my father built with his hands in Hardin County, Kentucky. My mother's name was Nancy, and my father's name was Thomas. I had an older sister named Sarah, and a younger brother named Thomas, but he passed away when he was a baby. My mother passed away too, and it was real sad. I moved to Perry County, Indiana. There I spent most of my childhood, and my father remarried a woman named Sarah. She taught me how to read and write, and I loved her for it. So when I was a teenager, I did a lot of hard work around the farm, so that in 1830, when we moved back to Illinois, I was real good with an axe. I worked at a job splitting firewood and then became a rail splitter. I also took up a trip on a flatboat down to New Orleans. We delivered a lot of goods, and we had a lot of great views along the way. I then moved back to New Salem, Illinois, where I became the shop owner of Barry Lincoln. I sold all types of goods and made friends with all my neighbors. I also became the postmaster of our town at one point, and I really enjoyed it. However, in 1832, the Black Hawk War took place, and I enlisted to help my countrymen. They made me captain, and thankfully I made it out unharmed. After the war, I moved back to Springfield, Illinois, where I taught myself law. I was a lawyer for all the big railroad companies, and I traveled all across the country. I should also mention, though, at this time I was part of the Whig Party, and we did not like slavery. But in 1842, I married my lovely wife, Mary. She was my sweetheart, and it was the greatest day of my life. She even helped me with my political campaigns. We had 4 children together, and the first was Edward. He died at the age of 4 from tuberculosis. And then William, who also passed away at the age of 11. Robert was the 3rd child, and the only one to make it to adulthood. Tad was the last, but also my favorite, and he passed away at the age of 18. My first big role in government was in 1847 as a congressman. I then became a Republican, and I hated the idea of slavery. In 1858, I ran against my competitor, Stephen Douglas, but I sadly lost. In 1860, though, I wanted to become president, so I ran against him again, and I became the country's 16th president. While our country was still in the middle of the Civil War, I started writing the Emancipation Proclamation. I published it in 1863, and afterwards, the North started to succeed, and we started to get somewhere. I was nearing the end of my term, though, and I was scared that I wasn't going to get reelected. To my surprise, I won the election with 55% of the popular vote. Then I served my 2nd term, and the Civil War was coming to an end. When Robert Lee and Ulysses Grant shook hands, it was all over. To celebrate, though, I took my wife to see Our American Cousin in the Ford's Theater. I purchased the private box for us, but out of nowhere, a man named John Wilkes Booth came into the box and shot a bullet into the back of my head. The pain was real bad, and I could only hear the terrified screams of my wife as the criminal rode away on horseback. A few of the men from the theater took me to next door to see a doctor, but he had small hopes of me living. I passed away that night, April 14, 1865. Even though my time on Earth was short, America still remembers me today. There's monuments of me in D.C. with a reflecting pool, and though it has been a long time since I've died, my legacy will go on.